that you guys believe that will change the future of Africa, the future of Ethiopia?
It starts with who you are. What level are you at? What do you think that you need? I was so excited. In fact, I think I cried.
Really?
It wasn't because of a political thing that people were energetic about it.
Talking about the problems is like an addiction.
We have a better chance of them becoming a unicorn and being able to impact more people.
Hello everyone, how are you guys doing? This is Tsega Belay and we're back with an amazing episode for you guys to enjoy. Today, we will be having a very nice conversation with the chairwoman of Ethiopian Diaspora Trust Fund. Lulit is here to have an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
You look so good.
Oh, thank you. So do you. Very tired, but good.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you look so good. So, so let's start with you introducing yourself. Let's get to know you, who Lulit is, and we'll go to other topics.
Sure. I mean,
have your coffee. I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you. We will. I work for the Ethiopian Diaspora Trust Fund, where I volunteer. I'm the chair.
Okay.
I was part of the founding advisory council when we started back 2018. So we've been around for about almost 7 years, which is crazy. That's been a pretty fast time, I think I would say. So we started when I think a lot of the change in the country came. Change in administration, change in the economy. There was a big call for the diaspora to come and help the country and kind of use your background, use your gifts, use your resources to see how we could, move Ethiopia forward. So I was really excited about that at the time.
Yeah.
I was working for JP Morgan at the time in banking, and I had no clue how I could help. I had no clue. I barely spoke any Amharic at the time, at least now it's Nishchalala.
Okay.
Again, at that time, it was exciting. It was a very exciting time. So we, as an advisory council, came together and said, okay, we need investment and we need a lot of assistance. So there's a lot of social impact that's needed, but there's a lot of infrastructure and development to move the economy forward that's going to be required. So we said, okay, first let's open up a nonprofit. That nonprofit will kind of help with the social economic needs, but also allow us to kind of grab the energy of wanting to give back. So let's start there, and then we can kind of expand and then think more about how we invest, how we do that kind of like as a collective group, how we can kind of leverage our talents, our skill sets from different sectors, and work together and kind of, build the Ethiopia of tomorrow. The diaspora is very strategically positioned to tell that story and to be that bridge. So that's kind of how I see myself. That's how I see the work and what I'm doing is where am I playing the bridge, Yeah. And that bridge it's a connecting point, but it's also the place where you walk over. So it's like, how do I humble myself and think about how do I connect the two? I was so excited. In fact, I think I cried.
Really?
I cried,
Okay.
yes. Because at the time, I was watching on YouTube and Facebook, and I was seeing like, oh my gosh, the markets are opening up, like, all the excitement in the country. And I was thinking to myself, how can I get involved? Like, how would they know that I want to help, and how could I help, So when I was asked to be on the advisory council, and this was at the time where the new administration came. Okay. The prime minister had made this big call. It said, if you're a diaspora, come help your country. Yeah. And it wasn't because of a political thing that people were energetic about it. It wasn't because, me being American and not really in the community, not really knowing, fully the language, the culture. It wasn't that made everybody excited equally. It didn't matter if you're Muslim, if you're Christian, if you're what ethnicity you were. It was the call that the prime minister gave at that time was actually speaking to a deep need. And that deep need was, how do I help? How do I connect the community? How can I use my gift? And so that's why there was an overwhelming amount of excitement. It was that everybody wanted to figure out how they could be engaged. So at the time, I was sitting in my office, I was at JP Morgan, and I was already feeling a lot of discontent. Like, I'm bored, you're maybe helping like rich people get richer. It's just, at a certain point, you kind of ask yourself, what am I doing this for? Exactly. Like, the purpose is not there. And I was having an issue with a colleague at the time. And so when I got the call, I was so shocked. And one of my other colleagues came to me because I started crying.
Okay.
And he came to me and he gave me a big hug. He didn't say anything. He gave me a big hug.
You didn't know what it was about.
He didn't know what it was about. He's assuming it's because I've had this issue with another colleague.
Okay.
And so he gives me this big hug and I'm crying. And I'm like, no, it's okay.
So that's not what you think.
Yes, I was like, these are happy tears. And he was like, what are you talking about? And I tell him I get this opportunity to advise on building this diaspora fund that's going to help the country. We're going to mobilize like millions of dollars. We're going to mobilize millions of diaspora all over the world.
Yeah.
And there's no end to this. Like, and I was so like touched. I was so shocked because I was like, how did I get called? You know, like how did I get this opportunity? And so I really kept with that same energy, you know, and I left actually JP Morgan after that, about a year or two after that.
To like fully involve in this.
Fully involved, like, you know, and I started my own consulting. So I left banking, I started my own consulting. I wanted to kind of help private equities, banks and stuff like that. So I was doing that. So I came to Addis.
Okay.
I was here kind of on and off for about like a year and a half, too. And then we went straight into COVID, so that I moved back. But during that time, oh my gosh, it was a nightmare.
Really?
It was just like,
That's not what I was
because
expecting.
it was a nightmare because I did not know what to expect, you know? The culture differences, how do you be as effective, you know? But it was the best lesson I've ever learned. Yeah.
I do believe that sometimes it's not only about attracting investors or helping Africans, Ethiopians grow and reach where we can and actually have to reach. But it's also about protecting the power or the vulnerability of the youth. And we do know that the Ethiopian Diaspora Trust Fund is working, a lot of sectors and a lot of sessions that they believe, that you guys believe that will change the future of Africa, the future of Ethiopia. And within that, you have mentioned it, majority of our population are the youth. So how do you guys empower the youth? Because when you attract investors, the youth are getting abused because there's low wage, you know, the inflation, all those things. So how do you guys, what are the strategies that you guys use when it comes to empowering the youth and creating that kind of sustainable development that we all want to see?
Yeah, I think I really truly believe the diaspora is the key. And the reason why I think that's the key is because from a diaspora perspective, it's your culture. It's your family, right? It's your cousin or your nephew or whoever it's your family, it's your community. So you have a different level of understanding while also having a foreign context. So I understand what margins or what profits or what goals these larger companies need to make. But I also understand like that's my family on the other side of it, that's my community on the other side of it. So you understand the ways that both places can work and both places can advance. And so that requires it requires the right mindset. What skills do I have and how do I make sure that there's an alignment? It's the youth, if it's the elderly, it doesn't matter what it is. It starts with who you are. What level are you at? What do you think that you need? And be able to speak for what you need. And that's one thing from an Ethiopian context perspective. It's like having the self-worthiness, having the confidence in yourself, having to know what do I need to thrive, not just survive. What type of life or what type of position do I want for myself? And you have to be relentless about it. So if you don't love yourself, who's going to love you?
My mom.
But do you get what I'm saying, though?
Yeah.
It's like, it's like if you don't feel like you're worthy of something, then how can somebody, if someone says, hey, no, you're just like a dog, you're like, yeah, you know what, I am a dog. Then, you know, so so it's that aspect, right? We're only a mirror. So as long as we look at every strategy, every business, every person we meet as a mirror, then we can make the corrections. The youth can remind us of the hope and the energy and the excitement because it's integrated into their DNA. And they can be the catalyst and that energy of that transformation in the country. One, because they dominate. 70% of the population is like under 30, right? So that in itself, that energy can fuel the transformation of the continent.
It's like sometimes talking about the problems is like an addiction.
It is.
Because it's easier to talk about your problems than actually going to the solution
Absolutely.
and doing something about it.
Yeah.
And when we talk about the problem that we're having as a nation, especially in our continent, Africa, it majorly involves agriculture, because we're still using the things that we used to use back thousands of years ago. And that we can, education, which is very important when it comes to understanding yourself, being aware about the potential that you have as a human being. And then the health, you have to be healthy either way, to eat, to learn. So what is the fund, like the Ethiopian Diaspora Trust Fund, doing in choosing the right projects? It's not only about doing projects, not only about applying or investing the money on those projects. It's about knowing which one can be applied and implemented. So how do you guys do that? How do you guys choose the projects in these sectors?
So like right now we're doing our Great Rift Valley Innovation Summit, which is going to be this weekend. And that is really focused on innovative companies, healthcare, education, and agriculture. And in those sectors, we chose very specific topics. We went with each sector and looked at what is the country facing as far as the top issues. For agriculture, it's really about the food waste, the harvest loss, like being able to migrate it from rural areas all the way to the urban cities where they can kind of do market trade. So thinking about things that think about that. Soil health is a huge one. Being able to connect these markets, so digitalizing that food trade in the marketplace. And then when you talk about education, it's about like being able to digitalize that education, being able to have the resources online where you can be able to teach online, being able to have classes online, self-service from wherever you are in the country. And then when you think about healthcare, same thing, more about remote telehealth, thinking about home health care, like being able to connect to family members that are in remote places, being able to get logistics, being able to get medicine to far-reaching places. So we thought about what are those top issues, and then we made them requirements for the application. So we didn't take any companies that just had a fancy idea that wasn't solving the largest issues in the country. We're going to see at least 5 unicorns come out of Ethiopia the next 5 years. That's our goal. We're talking about hundreds of millions of people, across the continent that are having the same problems. So if we can help them build the right infrastructure, help them with the resources, help them with the mentorship, and they actually have the drive, they actually have the vision to expand, then we have a better chance of them becoming a unicorn and being able to impact more people.
When you do projects, one of the most challenging things is keeping up with the goals, with the results that are coming up. Because sometimes you might think this project might work and might not go as planned. So you should always have plan B, C till Z. So how do you guys measure how effective your projects are? You've mentioned some of them, I do believe, but is there any specific ways in a way that you guys use to measure how you guys how the project is being effective?
Yeah, we do the standard. I think we call it the golden standard, which is like the UN SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, and we use that to basically measure. Hey, every dollar that the EDTF has given, like $1 has impacted 57 people. So that's a huge ratio. It's a great ratio. And that's based off of what we've done thus far, right? So not on the summit and on the innovation and the multiplication, but just on our projects that we've done, the more traditional projects we've done thus far, we've been able to look at what those goals were, how many women were impacted, what was the water and sanitation projects that we did, what was the schools that we did, and how many of those communities that we impacted in regards to the families. And we calculate that all up. And for every dollar, we impacted 57 people in the community, which is great. That's what we want to do. We want to make our mark. We want to make our imprint on the community. So we're going to keep focusing on every little thing we do. We're going to celebrate every single step of the way. If it's a small bathroom to a multi-million-dollar fintech company, or a multi-million-dollar ed tech company, we're going to celebrate at every step. And that's going to give us the energy and the excitement to kind of keep going.
The feeling of being part of this project feels really amazing, because you know that you're contributing and you understand that even the slightest things that you do has their own results, their own
Sure.
outcomes that you will see in the future
Sure.
sometimes. So my next question is, we'll be coming, okay, let's just agree to call it summit for this one.
Sure, yeah.
Let's talk about the summit, and it's very huge, not only about the grant, but also the impact, and the whole idea behind the summit is a feeling of being heard.
Yes.
And seen and valued.
Yep.
So let's talk about that. You've mentioned it a couple of times, but let's go in depth.
The energy of the summit is reflecting and being true to what your gifts are, what you bring to the table, because God has given each of us a specific gift and a specific purpose in this life. And my purpose may be just to sit here on this stage with you, because I don't know what I was supposed to say to you or how I was supposed to impact you, and what that was going to wake up in your soul to go and do. I love opportunities where people can show up and show what they really care about, what they are passionate about, how they want to help, right? A doctor doesn't want to help the same way a teacher does. It's like when you see a company on stage and you share their story, you walk away with like, dang, I want to see them succeed, right? So even the people we're having an award gala, award dinner, very fancy red carpet dinner at night, and just awarding different people in the community here locally that are really making an impact. Why we chose to do that was we wanted people to see and be engaged with people's stories so they felt invested in their success. And so what I wanted to show was a celebration of everyone's story so that we would be more invested in supporting those companies, supporting those founders, supporting those advisors. And I think that it's a really great way where everyone can kind of show up as themselves, you know, kind of figure out a more of a collaborative spirit. So that's kind of the theme and the feeling of it. And the theme actually for the summit is Make Your Mark this year.
So the next question I have for you is, I want you to be frank, okay?
Sure.
Was there any challenge that triggered you guys, that tested you guys? And if so, how did you guys pass it?
The ultimate piece is that it's a confidence in knowing that whatever ends up being executed is exactly what was supposed to be executed. Who came, those were the people who were supposed to come. Not the people who didn't show up, or the donors that said, okay, we don't have time to review the project yet, maybe next year. Like, it's not really about that. It really is about being present for whoever's showing up right now, right? Being present for this interview and the conversation we're having right now. Being present for the finalists and who were chosen. There's probably tons of smart founders that didn't get to the 8 finalists that I'm going to build a community to connect with them. Ultimately, when you're doing something from the right place, you have the right thought, the right vision, and it's coming from the heart, then I think in that scenario, you have to just allow things to flow.
Yeah, thank you so much. If there's anything else that you love to add, anything else that you would love to emphasize on for our audiences, let me give you the chance and we can wrap up.
So I just want to say to the audience that I hope that you guys join us for the Great Rift Valley Innovation Summit this weekend. Come, celebrate our finalists, be mentors for them. I'm just really, really excited, and I'm really glad to be here. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to kind of talk about it, and to be able to just kind of figure out a way so that we can be more competitive in the landscape, and Ethiopia can, share its narrative, around the world. So I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
So guys, I hope you enjoyed our stay. I really did, and I hope you guys got something that you guys can incorporate into your life and do something about it. Thank you so much for watching. I have nothing else to say. See you at the summit, and goodbye.